China's dramatic rise is indeed remarkable, even for most Chinese who have lived through the past 4 decades in China. An international comparison could make this point clearer. Compared with other developing countries, China has in fact performed better than all other developing countries combined over the past 4 decades, as over 80% of the world's poverty eradication has taken place in China. Compared with other transitional economies, China has performed perhaps better than all these economies combined. As for instance, China's foreign exchange reserves today alone are larger than the combined GDPs of the Eastern European countries and Russia, given the fact that Russia's economy used to be larger than China's at the time of the Soviet breakup. Compared with the West, China has also performed better than many Western countries. Its developed regions, with a population of over 300 million at least, the size of the US population today, in many ways match the West in overall prosperity, if not more. And China's first-tier cities like Shanghai may already surpass New York in many ways in terms of both hardware and software. Hardware such as airports, subways, high-speed trains, shopping facilities, and city skylines. And software such as life expectancy, child mortality rate, home ownership, and street safety. China, of course, has its share of problems, some of which are indeed very serious and require earnest solution. But China's overall success is beyond doubt. How to explain this success? Some claim that this is due to foreign direct investment. But Eastern Europe has received far more FDI in per capita terms. Some claim that's due to China's cheap labor, but India and Africa offer much cheaper labor. Some claim it's due to an authoritarian government, but there are authoritarian governments as defined by the West everywhere in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, and in the Arab world. But none of them have accomplished what China has achieved. If none of these explanations can explain China's success, one should be encouraged to think outside the box. China's rise has to do with China's philosophy for political governance, which is a vast topic, but I shall focus on some of its key concepts. For instance, there are 2 distinctive concepts in China's political governance. One is called Minyi, and the other called Mingxin. Minyi referring to public opinion, and Mingxin refers to the hearts and minds of the people. Of course, this is a very approximate English translation. It's not very accurate. The 2 concepts were first put forward by Mencius, the greatest Confucian master of the 4th century BC. Minyi, or public opinion, can be fleeting and change overnight, especially in today's internet age. But Mingxin, or the hearts and minds of the people, tends to be stable and lasting, reflecting the whole and long-term interests of a nation. So over the past 4 decades, the Chinese state has generally practiced rule by Mingxin that allows China to plan for medium to long terms, and even for the next generation, rather than for the next election, as the case with many Western countries. Furthermore, the importance of competent leadership from China's idea and practice of meritocracy, or 选贤任能, which means selecting and appointing the virtuous and the competent. I disagree with Professor Fukuyama on his end of history thesis, but he is right in observing in his book, The Origins of Political Order, that it's safe to say that China invented modern bureaucracy, that is, a permanent administrative cadre selected on the basis of ability rather than kingship or patrimonial connections. The CPC has adapted this tradition to China's new reality and built an impressive system of selecting its leaders based on merit and performance. If you look at Xi Jinping's profile, China's president, he has served as a top leader for 3 provinces, Fujian, Zhejiang, and Shanghai, which meant a larger region of over 120 million people and an economy close to the size of India before he became a member of the Political Bureau Standing Committee. Then he was given another 5 years to get familiar with state and national affairs before he was finally elected to China's top leadership. China's meritocracy system is apparently, to be honest, more effective than the American model of relying simply on elections, producing competent and trustworthy leaders. Thirdly, good governance versus bad governance is a much better political paradigm than that of democracy versus autocracy, which is an outdated ideological legacy from the Cold War. The success of China since 1978 shows that whatever the political system, it must all boil down to good governance. In other words, the ultimate test of a good political system is to what extent the system can ensure good governance in the eyes of the people. The stereotyped dichotomy of democracy versus autocracy sounds increasingly hollow in today's complex world, given the large numbers of poorly governed democracies. I think China's rise may eventually usher in a paradigm shift from this dichotomy of democracy versus autocracy to that of good governance versus bad governance. Good governance may take the form of the Western political system. It may also take the form of non-Western political system, as the case with China. In the same vein, bad governance can take the form of the Western political model, as in the case of Haiti, Iraq, Ukraine, and Greece, to my mind, and many others, all take the form of non-Western model as well.